with a grateful heart, Lord, I praise you. Give my heart to you, Lord. Yes, I will praise you, Lord. Oh, for the rest of my day. Come wait on me. Somebody tell the Lord, Lord, I praise you. Give my heart and soul to you, Jesus. Lord, I praise you. Yes, I will praise you, yeah. Yes, I will praise you. For the rest of my days. For the rest of my days. If you really gotta have it, somebody say with me. I have you. Oh, I can't live without you. Choose you and live for the rest of my days. For the rest of my days. My days are living. Oh, can't live without you. Choose you and life. Gotta have you. Oh, for the rest of my days. My days. Come on, say it one more time. Oh, I can't live. Choose you and life alone. I gotta have you. Oh, for the rest of my days. Somebody tell me what I can't live. Not a single day. Gotta have you, Lord. For the rest of my days. Rest of my days, won't you say? For the rest of my days. All of my days are with you, Lord. For the rest of my days. I gotta have you. Can't live without you. For the rest of my days. Lord, I need you more than ever. And my hope is in you, Jesus. My heart waits in your way. Well, welcome everyone to Birmingham Bible Church Worldwide Winning Wednesday. For all of you who are watching via YouTube, via Twitter, via our My Sunday app or the church's website, bhambc.org, we are just so excited to see you here on today, on this Wednesday. This is the platform where we like to create winners because it's Winning Wednesday. And so we want each and every one of you to be winners in your health, in your wealth, in your relationships, and just in every part of your life. And so we desire to always inspire you, educate you, and empower you, which is what Winning Wednesday is all about. So it is the beginning of May. It is the 5th month of the year, and I can't believe it because, this is month 5. It seemed like it was just January, but it's just an exciting time. There's proms, there's graduations, high school students are making decisions about college, and it's just a great time of the year. Kids are getting ready to be out of school. I don't know if that's so great or not, but, we're having to try to entertain during the summer, but people are traveling. So it's a fun time. And it's about to get hot. It's May. So, May is just, you may get snow, you may get rain. You just never know what you're going to get in the month of May. And so in the month of June, it's probably going to start getting really hot. And so with that being said, we just need to know how to take care of our skin, not just during the summer, but all year round. And so, of course, we need to know what we need to do to take care of it and just why it's important. And so I have with us on today, Dr. Tiffany Mayo. She was with us last year, did such a phenomenal job just talking about why we need to take care of our skin. And so I'm going to bring her on. She's going to introduce herself. She's a great person. I've just enjoyed communicating to her via email, talking to her assistants. They're very organized, very professional. So if you need some skincare, she can probably direct you in that direction. But I don't know if she's so much practicing in the clinic, but she's an associate professor. She's also part of a clinical research team. We've been talking, communicating about that, but I'm gonna let her come on and talk more about that. But she is with the University of Alabama, Birmingham system. And so I welcome you all, Dr. Tiffany. Hey, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So I am an associate professor at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, which means multiple things. So I see patients in clinic. I have 5 clinics throughout the week where I see patients. I also direct our clinical research unit. And so that's what you were referring to. I work with clinical trials. I work with sponsors to help make sure they understand the needs of our patients in terms of clinical research. And I also educate. I educate medical students, and so I teach as well. And a lot of people will associate the professor title with that. I teach residents. So I do multiple things, but one of the things I enjoy most is seeing my patients and teaching my patients, which is why I'm really happy that you have invited me here again.
Yeah, awesome. And we actually we talked a little bit before we got started, but gonna kind of get you plugged in and get you doing some things, even on a one-on-one level with our church and community. So thank you so much just for being available. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well. So today we're going to be talking about how to take care of your skin in these summer months. So I'm going to share screen here.
And while you're sharing screen, your skin is flawless. I just thought I'd say that.
It's the lighting. I'm sitting here, the window is right.
I got foundation, concealer, everything over here going on.
It's the lighting and a tinted sunscreen. And so I'll get to sunscreens and how to select sunscreens here in a bit. But sunscreens are really important. Honestly, I know a lot of times, and especially in skin of color, we are not accustomed to wearing sunscreens, or we'll think, oh, does our skin need a sunscreen, since we may not be used to the idea of burning or sunscreen for protection. But number one, yes, our skin does need sunscreen because the sun causes not only skin cancers, particularly more in lighter skin individuals, but also it can occur in any patient, especially patients who may be immunocompromised, for instance, may be more at risk regardless of skin type. And so, but beyond that, cosmetically, as you're mentioning, the sun causes dyspigmentation, and that's one of the top complaints of my skin of color patients is dyspigmentations or conditions that cause darker skin tone in certain areas. And so the sunscreen can really be helpful for that. So I do love sunscreen, and we'll chat about how to pick a good one for the summer months. Okay. So I will get started if that's okay with you with our presentation. Fine. Okay. So skin health for the summer, it really is skin health all year long, because the things that you do in the summer may be slightly modified to adjust for the heat, but these are really things that I want everyone to be thinking about throughout the year to make sure that they are protecting their skin. So this is a little overview. We'll start by talking about the basic skincare management. Then I'll move into summer tips for maintaining healthy skin. And then we'll talk about specific skin conditions where you would want to be protecting your skin, especially in the summer months if you have some of these conditions. So let's start with protection from the sun. How do we protect ourselves? Before I talk about sunscreens, probably the first thing is to talk about physical protection. So physical protection would be like a hat, or like a shaded area, an umbrella, that sort of thing. So physical protection can be really helpful, but it's not always possible for us to physically protect ourselves from the sun. And that's where sunscreen comes in, because we do love to have a good time in the summer. I encourage everyone. It can be good for not just socially, but mentally as well, to get out about and enjoy yourselves. So we need something to protect our skin when we're not able to have physical protection. So sunscreens are a way to do that. When we talk about sunscreens, we talk about this unit called an SPF, or sun protection factor. So you'll see on sunscreens, if you see on my screen here, the different sunscreens may say SPF 40, SPF 70, or your makeup may even say SPF 15. So what SPF means is sun protection factor, which is how long you can stay in the sun without burning your skin. So for instance, I have an example here. An SPF 30 means that if you apply the sunscreen in the way that it's recommended, you should be able to be in the sun 30 times long. It should take 30 times longer to burn compared to how you would burn with no sunscreen. And then the same for SPF 50. It would take 50 times longer to burn compared to no sunscreen. So I would say SPF 15 probably isn't quite enough, because I said if you apply the sunscreen in the way that's recommended, well, they recommend putting on a lot of sunscreen, and cosmetically and for time purposes, we often don't do it in the way that is recommended. So we're probably not getting the true SPF value that is listed on the bottle. So normally we recommend SPF 30 or higher for everyone, regardless of your skin type. Um, and reapplying. So it doesn't last all day. So it's recommended that when you are in the sun that you reapply at least every 2 to 4 hours. So that's the recommendation for sunscreen. What does it do? Well, it protects us against skin cancer, darkening of the skin, and actually skin aging. So there's several, you probably can find it if you just Google skin aging and sunscreen. They traditionally, they'll show this photo of a lady who sat next to a window for her job. So one side of her face, you can see all the sun damage, a lot of wrinkles, rough texture, and the other side of her face looks almost really completely different. And it can show you the damage that the sun can cause. And so you'll notice people who wear sunscreen, usually they are not having that same exact type of damage because they're protecting themselves somewhat from the sun. So it does protect against that. Protects against skin cancer in lighter skin types. So Caucasians are typically more at risk, but like I mentioned, anyone can get a skin cancer. It's less likely in darker skin tones. And so we are not as accustomed to thinking about it, but it could happen. Importantly, there are skin conditions that make us more sensitive to the sun, and I'll show photos of those later, but things like lupus that can make you more sensitive to the sun and cause scarring, especially on the face. And so you definitely want to be wearing sunscreen if you have any conditions or medications that make you more sensitive to the sun. And then there's a condition, it's pretty common, called melasma. A lot of people get it after pregnancy. Is darkening on the forehead and cheeks. That's one that is also activated by the sun. Rosacea, which is redness of the cheeks, activated by the sun, may get worse with sun exposure. So those are just some examples of when we will want to wear sunscreen, particularly in those situations. So these are some sunscreens I included here on the screen. So take a screenshot of this if you want to know sunscreens that blend in well on skin of color. So not all sunscreens blend in well. Traditionally, physical sunscreens, there's two different types. There's physical sunscreens and chemical sunscreens. And there's a lot out in the media about, are sunscreens good for me? Or will they cause, bad side effects or that sort of thing? Well, the safest sunscreens of all are physical sunscreens. It's challenging to find a physical sunscreen that blends in well on skin of color, because the point of it being physical is that it's just the zinc or titanium dioxide. And so that looks very white. not going to be cosmetically acceptable. But luckily now companies are doing a better job at developing sunscreens, and they may even, some of them on the tube. I know Eucerin has recently put on their tube like brown skin tone so that you can see that this is something that should blend in well on skin of color. I think the La Roche-Posay, this one here on the screen, and some of these others, basically you want the sunscreen that has the least ingredients on the back that's also going to blend in well on your skin type. So it may try you shopping around a little bit, but these are some that happen to fall into the chemical sunscreen category, but they're also sensitive skin, okay for sensitive skin. The issue with chemical sunscreens is mostly that they may cause a contact dermatitis in some patients. And what a contact dermatitis is where you get an itchy rash from a new lotion. So if you're sensitive, if you know your sensitive skin, then you're definitely going to want to look at the ingredients and pick something that has the least possible ingredients. But these are some good ones to choose from.
Mayo, I had a question.
Yeah.
So I noticed, like when just riding around in your car, is the sun is coming in from the car, and it's really hot. So should we, I guess from what I'm understanding, should we always just have our sun protection on just before we even walk out the house?
I don't even walk out the house without it.
Oh
I
wow.
do not walk out of the house without it. So absolutely. So the sun's rays, these are rays. Windows are not blocking rays. That's why we like to have the windows open or the shades up, because we like that sun, right, to come
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
give light. So you're not really blocking rays with the windows. And so if you're going to the mailbox, if you're riding around in your car, if you work next to a window, you're
Yeah.
going to want to just have your sunscreen on. So yeah, before I leave out of the house, my sunscreen is part of my morning regimen. Now, I don't put it on all over because I have clothing, that are going to protect me, but I put it on my face, and I would encourage people to put it on your neck, and this is more speaking to the females here, probably. We always say the neck can tell your age, even when you're doing a great job with your face. Well, often that's because people forget to take care of their neck. So all these amazing products that we put on our face,
Yeah.
consider your neck. Now, some of them can be a little bit irritating to the neck. And so if you're starting to get itchy, like with retinol or nighttime creams, that may be more for the face. But definitely the sunscreen is one that you're going to want to share the love with the neck, to prevent that kind of that crepey skin and aging that you can start to see on the neck before it shows up on the face. That's a really good point. Also, we're not so sure that the types of lights, those lights that are often in offices, those white lights, we're not so sure that those don't cause damage as well to the skin.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I would even say, you may be protecting yourself more than you think by wearing sunscreen, especially if you have some of those medical conditions that can cause issues with photo damage.
Right.
So let's talk about, we talked about some physical protection, like, the shade and umbrellas, but sun hats are also really great, and they happen to be in style always. And so a good sun hat can truly protect you, protect the back of your neck, protect your ears. I know you all have heard of like the farmer's neck or farmer's tan. That's where like the back of the neck is it's like a different person. It's, much darker than the rest of the body. And so you want to protect yourself from that, because fast forward 40 years, when we see that person, that part of their neck looks like, leather pretty much. And
Wow.
so you want to be protecting your ears and neck, especially Caucasians or lighter skinned individuals. Skin cancers occur very frequently on the ears. And so the ears are more prone to burning. I want to take a moment and talk about sunburns, because I feel like, particularly in skin of color, we have this notion that we don't burn from the
Right.
sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had several patients come in, usually in their, 30s and 40s, after a beach trip, and they say, "I got this rash. My skin is kind of scaly and red all over. What is this?" And I laugh and I say, "Well, it's a sunburn." And they say, "What are you talking about? I never burn in the sun." So one thing is, when we're younger, we go out in the sun every single day. So our body kind of works up its, tolerance a little bit. And so you may not see that harsh scaling and redness as a sunburn will appear later in life when you don't go out in the sun as much, and then all of a sudden you take a beach trip and your skin is like, burning from this sun, and you're not recognizing it as a sunburn. And so then a day or two later, you start to flake off all that skin that was damaged from the sun, or you may have burning sensation on your skin. So we do get sunburns, so I just want to make that clear that you definitely can get a sunburn if you're going to be out in the sun for long periods of time, regardless of your background or ethnicity. So sun hats can be helpful. Now, one thing, especially with my guys, is they feel like, I don't want to put on creams. They're going to make me hot. They're going to, make me sweat. I don't want to be reapplying. That's too much. So there are sun protective clothing. So they're called, just like SPF, it's called UPF, which is ultraviolet protection factor. So you can usually find this at sporting goods stores, any kind of like fishing shirts often have this UPF built in. Athletic shirts now have it built in a lot, swimming gear. So consider this, when you're going to be at the beach. It's funny, I wear one of these shirts when I'm at the beach, and it's long sleeve. And at first I get all these stares. Every dermatologist has these on, by the way. And so if you see a group of people with long sleeves on, they're probably dermatologists. But really, when I don't have it, it's uncomfortable. My skin feels hot. The sun it's hot and it's uncomfortable. And these people assume that because they're long sleeve, they're going to be hot. But they're built in a way to be pretty lightweight and actually makes it more tolerable to be out in the sun. So consider the clothing and the hats if you know you're going to be going on a beach trip or going to be out in the sun for a while.
Yeah. And Dr. You know what? I've seen people and I'm like, I would just be hot with that on, but I guess I'm gonna try it, just something loose and just probably white long sleeve. But yeah, I've thought about that too. And you mentioned men. Talk about our men who have the bald heads.
Yeah, that's really important. So
Yeah.
one thing about the bald heads is that every season affects the bald head. If it's winter, well, then you're more likely to be cold because you don't have, hair serves as all kinds of protection for us, particularly the sun. And so a couple of things with the scalp and when you have a bald head. You're going to want to protect it from the sun. It certainly can also get sunburns in lighter skin Caucasian individuals. That also is a frequent place for skin cancers. But the sun, like I mentioned, causes dyspigmentation. And for guys that shave and use razors, they know that like ingrown hairs can occur on the scalp, and that pigmentation can be worsened by the sun, like irritation on the scalp. So beyond just getting a sunburn or at risk for skin cancer, also more dyspigmentation is likely if you normally have scalp sensitivity. Then that also, you can protect yourself by wearing a hat in that situation. So absolutely. The scalp, also for my ladies who look beautiful with low haircuts and bald heads, you're going to want to think about wearing a hat as well for that extra sun protection you may not have realized hair had been providing for all those years. That's a really good point to bring up, because it also is a place that, patients come in and they're like, what is happening here on my head? It's like, oh, you didn't. So what about sunscreen and the scalp?
Yeah.
So for people who wear a part in the same place every day, it could be helpful to put sunscreen on that part. But you got to pick a sunscreen that's going to be cosmetically appealing, and so you may have to try a few. Particularly for Caucasians, I don't know what the congregation makeup is, so I just want to make sure. And then you can tell your friends of all different skin types as well. That part is at risk for skin cancer, particularly if you are a lighter skin type. And so if you put sunscreen on your face, just go ahead and put it on that part where you normally part your hair, because it's going to be getting more sun. And then also, as we mentioned, for those who may not have as much hair, it's important to do that as well.
Wow. Thank you. I didn't think about that with the parts. One of our sons has a part.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be putting sunscreen in it during the summer.
Yeah, as long as it, as long as it blends in and it's not looking all white on the hair, but you can find,
Yeah.
so that one called Super Goop Unseen, it's actually a clear sunscreen. And
Oh,
so that one, I think I showed it. Yeah, this
yeah.
one here, it's
Okay.
clear. And so it's been very popular. So
Okay.
that one blends well on most skin types. And so as long as it's not causing a lot of flaking in the scalp, I think it's good to consider.
Okay.
All right, now moving on to the daily routine. So, what other things beyond sunscreen should we talk about for the summer months? My patients with all types of skin conditions, eczema or itchy, dry skin, all these things often will get worse in the summer. Now, some of that can be seasonal, the weather can flare up allergies and all these things. But another thing is that we just try not to protect our skin in the summer as much because we think we're going to be hot. But you can moisturize your skin. You can do things that you normally would do in the winter to protect your skin as well, because your skin still needs that extra love and care. So, first, I want to talk about bathing. And everyone rolls their eyes when I go on this counseling about bathing because we do too much. The truth is, we overbathe. I mean, we put on too much soap and we dry our skin out. So, our skin, especially as we get older, is not making as much oil as it used to make. This is not the same skin we had when we were teenagers. It's more sensitive. So, you can't slather on all the perfume, products and expect not to get rashy or get itchy. And it's drier. So, we do have to take care of it. So, when it comes to bathing, you don't want to use too much soap. Like, you don't need to be lathering your body 2 times a day, probably not even 1 time a day. I say hit the places that need the soap with the soap and let the water run everywhere else. So you can still take a bath every day and use soap in the places that need it the most, but you don't have to soap your entire body every single day. And so that's one thing. You don't want the shower or bath to be scalding hot. I know everyone loves their hot showers, but that truly does dry out the skin. And then within about 3 minutes of getting out of the bath or shower, you should be putting on a moisturizer. So moving down to moisturizer, you still need moisturizers in the summer, but you can choose lighter ones. So if you go see a dermatologist, they're going to say to moisturize your skin, you want something nice and thick and bland. So no fragrance, something so thick that when you turn it over like this, it doesn't come out of the bottle. We love those thick moisturizers, but it's acceptable in the summer to use something lighter, especially if you feel like the moisturizers make you hot. So something like CeraVe or Eucerin or Vanicream, there's multiple really good moisturizers that make lighter versions. So lotions are lighter versions than creams. And so pick a nice thin lotion, but that will still give your body the moisturization that it needs. Then the other thing is staying dry. Some people may have areas like under their arms, under their breast area, the stomach area, places that just stay moist. And so yeast that's the like perfect environment for yeast, especially in the summer. So we see increased risk of just yeast in areas of the body that are warm and moist. And so diaper rash creams can be helpful. Cornstarch type products can be helpful. Things to keep you dry. Those are things that keep you comfortable in the summer and help prevent the yeast. We all have yeast on our body. Everyone. You can't cure it, but you definitely can keep it at bay. And if it becomes a problem, you should see a dermatologist. We have several things that can be helpful, especially in the summer. So this is just a little overview of a general daily routine for the summer months, but we always can make things more specific. And so if you have a particular issue or finding it difficult or have a skin problem that you can't get under control with the basics, then come and see us and we can personalize something for you. But these are just a few tips.
Dr. Tiffany, so is it better to use like we use Cetaphil? Is it better to use the Cetaphil lotion as the cream that's in the jar?
I
Is
love the cream. So I'm always going to go for the thickest thing because that's the thing that is going to be the best in terms of moisturizing the skin. But
yeah.
if you're someone who doesn't have eczema, your skin is
Okay.
otherwise normal, then the Cetaphil lotion is just fine. But for patients who have eczema or other issues with skin sensitivity, then the thicker the cream, the better. So like the Vaseline Aquaphor Ointment, those are
Yes.
great. Those are wonderful. The moisturizing creams, also wonderful. And then lotions would be next on the list. But if you're someone who otherwise has no problems with their skin, go for the light lotion.
Okay. And definitely not the Bath and Body Works
You know,
fragrant
I hate to give
lotions.
Bath and Body Works a
No,
bad
you just
reputation, but
you just
yes,
killed it.
it's true. I mean, we see more rashes from fragrance. I mean, it smells so good. I know, and that's the
Yes.
hardest thing for patients to give up. Their laundry detergent also, the fragrant laundry detergent. It smells so good. I know, but it's against your body all day, every day. And if you're someone who just can't get away from itchy skin, it's because you've put it all in your clothes and your sheets, and your skin is just exposed to
Yeah.
these irritants all day. So one tip is that you can try to back off on the fragrant moisturizers
Mhm.
and the fragrant laundry detergent and get the ones that say free and clear. Even your dryer sheets and fabric softeners,
Oh,
lay off the fragrance there. Get the ones that say free and clear, and then see how you feel in a month after that. Because it really, we see the laundry products, the moisturizers, the fragrance soaps, all those can be irritants on the skin.
yeah, that's good. There's a place in town. I don't know if you recommend it or not, but it's called Buff City Soaps. I love to get my laundry detergent from there. That's the only thing I buy from there. But
Okay,
it's
no, I haven't heard
plant-based.
of it.
Yeah, okay, look it up and see if that's something that's great for us to use. But it's Buff City. I love the laundry detergent. It's plant-based. Everything in there is
Mhm.
plant-based. And so I hope that one's okay.
Yeah, I'll I'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out
In
for
general, I'm okay. You know, I hate to take things completely away from my patients. So
me.
if it's not causing a problem, then enjoy yourself. Do, be as fragrant as you'd like to be. But if you're noticing that you get dry patches on your skin that are itchy, or that your skin is just itchy in general, it could be you have sensitivities to fragrance. And then you bring up a really good point. So I love plant-based things, and I actually am someone who try to do things as natural as I can, because we don't know everything in medicine. But I like to remind people that natural can also cause problems. Poison ivy is natural,
Yeah,
but if you get it on your skin and you're
okay.
sensitive to it, you will get a blistering rash that lasts a long time. So
Yes.
even if you're using natural products, if you're noticing that you're having a problem, then it still could be that product. And so switching to something that is meant for sensitive skin, like the Vanity Cream products, the CeraVe, the Cetaphil, the Eucerins, even though they're technically not considered natural, they may be more tolerable on someone who has allergies and contact dermatitis.
Okay.
I'm so happy you brought that up.
You're fine. I'm thinking of questions. I'm trying to just be quiet and save it at the end, but
No, no,
let me
no.
just
It's
jump
good because I
in.
don't have a ton of slides, but it
Okay.
really is just something to help carry along. This is more conversational.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that no matter what my patient comes in for, they can come in and see me for hair loss, which I guess I should have told y'all the kinds of things that I treat. I'll talk about it at the end,
Yeah.
but they may come in for hair loss, and I notice that, their skin seems really dry. I would have this entire conversation with them, or they say they're not wearing a sunscreen. I have this entire conversation just as a conversation with them, but sometimes in this format, it's easier to use slides. So I'm happy that you're
Oh,
asking
you're
questions.
fine. So haven't said that. I have one more question.
Yeah,
I just thought about shea butter. For
yeah,
those who use shea butter, is that okay? I kind of like, I've seen different kinds, and the ones that's thick and kind of gumpy, I don't like that one. But they have some that are kind of light, and I
yeah.
kind of like those because I can, smooth it a little bit better. So, what are your thoughts on
Love
shea
it.
butter?
So I love it. As long as it's a patient is not sensitive to it, I love it.
Yeah.
It's nice and thick. So those are the kinds of things that we like as dermatologists. And shea butter is good. So there's always caveats, right? So the caveats for Vaseline, shea butters, things like that is, if you're using it on your face, it may be causing acne, because those things that clog the pores may cause acne. But
Oh,
products like, for instance, CeraVe, you'll see on there, I don't see it on the front, but it may be on the back, but it'll say non-comedogenic, which is a very long word. But
mhm.
a comedone is a blackhead or a whitehead, which is acne. And
Mm,
if it says non-comedogenic on the moisturizer, that means you can use it on your face and body. The problem with, for instance, Vaseline, I love myself some Vaseline. I Vaseline my children all from head
Yes.
to toe,
Yes.
and aquaphor them from head to toe. But when they become teenagers and become more acne prone, Vaseline, aquaphor, all that's going to be for the body. And then for the face, they're going to have to use something like Cetaphil or CeraVe that is also moisturizing, but doesn't clog the pores.
Mm,
So that type of thing. So same for coconut oil. You know, if you're thinking more natural, coconut oil, olive oil, these things can be very moisturizing. But for my patients who get dandruff, dandruff is a yeast, and food-based oils can also make yeast worse. So if you are getting a lot of dandruff and you're greasing your scalp with food-based oils, then
mm,
you may be having a party for the yeast that causes the dandruff, and it's just getting worse. Even though those oils are great for our hair, our
right.
scalp, may. So that's a whole, we can
Yeah,
definitely have a whole
I
nother talk
see.
about our hair
Yeah.
and scalp, because there's so many things that we just traditionally do, like greasing our scalp, that may not be that helpful for some patients. And so we can talk about ways to improve our scalp and hair health as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to what are those skin conditions I was mentioning earlier that are worsened by the sun? Well, any skin condition truly can be worsened by the sun. So if you're noticing a problem, then you may be right. But lupus is one that I want to talk about. So I included some photos here, because this gives me an opportunity to make people aware of conditions that they may not otherwise be aware of that may be affecting them or family members or friends. So one of the things that got me interested in dermatology was I had an opportunity there to impact my community. I had an opportunity to impact patients of color, because there's not a lot of dermatologists that are skin of color. And so some of the conditions that I was interested in or had concerns about, there wasn't a lot of research, being done. And so we didn't, we don't know all of the things. There's a lot of work being done now to better understand, like hair loss and such. So I also was very aware that I had never in my life seen a dermatologist. And I thought it was interesting that, this field exists. There's definitely dermatologic conditions. Acne, is just as common in patients of color, and even maybe even more concerning because of the dark spots it causes. Yet no one ever said, oh, you should see a dermatologist. So I like to bring up conditions that you may be seeing every day, and this person may not even know that there is a specialty who treats these sorts of things. So these are some of the conditions. So lupus is one of them that's very important. Lupus is like a scary word to us, but there's different types of lupus. There's skin lupus, and then there's another one, we call it systemic lupus. Systemic means something that involves more organ systems than the external skin. So skin lupus is, like it mentions, just the skin. Now, it can also go on, and patients can also have systemic lupus as well, meaning it affects other organs as well. But when it's just the skin, we as dermatologists manage that. And the number one thing we recommend is sunscreen to protect the skin. And when someone is having a flare, there are topical medications that we give them to calm the flare down, because if you don't, patients end up with these types of scars on their face that may be from a skin lupus flare. So skin lupus doesn't look like one particular thing. For instance, this could have been a scratch that the patient had, but just from my experience, I know that this is the type of lesions that come up from skin lupus, where it's almost like the texture has changed. But also I can see this redness here on the cheeks and nose that points to some type of inflammatory condition that's likely autoimmune as well. Another telltale sign of skin lupus, to me, we call it discoid lupus, is in the ear. Patients get these little places in their ear and scalp like this. It can affect the scalp too and cause hair loss. Then that is a classic presentation for discoid lupus or skin lupus. So very important for these patients to wear sunscreen. Now, melasma. Melasma, I mentioned melasma earlier, and I said that it often occurs in patients after they have had a baby, for instance, because we know there's a hormonal component to women who get these dark splotches, as they call it, on their faces. So this is melasma. also worsened by the sun. And so sunscreen is really important here. But if you see, if you or someone in your family, you're noticing that their face is getting all these dark places, and we call it a lacy like distribution, where it almost looks like lace, just dark lace on the face, then that could be melasma, and they should see a dermatologist to help control it. And then rosacea. So rosacea is reddening on the cheeks is how it usually presents. But a lot of times, especially in skin of color, we're not diagnosed with rosacea. We may be diagnosed with acne. You may be diagnosed with these other things, but rosacea is often missed because it can be a little bit difficult to see red for some dermatologists or physicians or providers in darker skin types. But as you can see here on this young lady or man, it could be a man too. You can see this redness along with these little pus bumps here. So that's rosacea. That's a skin condition that could be treated, but this patient should be checked for lupus, because lupus can also present with a red rash that goes onto the cheeks and nose. And so any type of facial rash or pigmentation that is ongoing or reoccurring should be evaluated by a dermatologist. And then more commonly, we are talking about eczema. So eczema, I don't have a picture of eczema here. That is where patients get dry, itchy skin, and it may be severe where it's all over their body, and there's all kind of awesome medications, especially now, that help to treat it. Or it may be just patchy, just every now and then you get an itchy spot. And so that could be eczema, or another word for it is atopic dermatitis. So those things can be worsened or by sun exposure. But beyond that, particularly in skin of color, anything that gets inflamed will leave a dark spot behind. And dark spots in themselves are worsened by sun exposure without sun protection. Now, I did want to talk about a little rash called a heat rash. So we call it PMLE, or polymorphous light eruption, in the dermatology world. But what it is, in the spring, when it starts to get hot again, people emerge back out into the sun, and then they notice that they get these tiny, tiny little bumps, just like right over here. Then as the summer goes along, they get it less and less and less until the next spring when they go back out into the sun. So this is a sun sensitivity condition called polymorphous light eruption. And we call it a heat rash, just culturally. I remember like people in my family getting this, and they just say, oh, it's just a heat rash. It's nothing to be worried about. And it isn't anything to be worried about, but sunscreen can help with it. So what happens is, over the summer, your skin gets more and more used to the sun, and then you don't get the rash as much. And then you go through winter without much sun exposure. And then come spring, you're like a fresh baby now getting exposed again, and you get the rash again. So if you've noticed that, that's what it is, the heat rash, and sunscreen can be really helpful. So I think this is my last slide. I hope we're good on time. So any other questions that you have?
No, you're good. This was helpful. I did have a question. Have you ever had patients that come to you, with a skin condition of lupus? They have not been diagnosed by a doctor with lupus, and then they come to you with these conditions, and you're like, you know what, you need to go see me, but also you need to go see, another medical professional,
All
because
the time.
all the time.
All
Wow.
the time, every single day. It may not be lupus, but so the skin is a window to what's happening internally often. And
Yeah.
so there are rashes that may come up. People don't say, you know what, I feel like my blood pressure or my blood sugar isn't doing so good. I'm going to go and see my PCP. We
Right,
would push
right.
that off to the side. Oh, I've been tired for months, but I'm gonna push that to the side. But you let something pop up on their face,
That's right. I got to go to the doctor.
I gotta see somebody about this. And so sometimes we're able to help diagnose things like thyroid disorder. If patients are
Mhm.
shedding a lot of hair and they're having, other skin conditions, then we're able to, get them in the right place. Patients who have something we call acanthosis nigricans, which is that darkening on the back of the neck. That often can be seen in patients who are at risk for diabetes or who have uncontrolled diabetes. Also, that kind of darkening here just on the cheeks can be similar. And so blood sugar control, may be something we want to send them back to their primary care doctor while we manage the skin portion. So with lupus particularly, yes, we diagnose discoid lupus or that skin lupus all the time. And then we check to make sure that they don't have, or if they do have systemic lupus, then we get them in with a rheumatologist. So dermatologists can be very helpful to connect patients as well with the doctors that they need for what may be happening internally. But very frequently, patients will come in and say, I'm losing hair in places. And then I see those little kind of dark areas, or I'll use different tools to help evaluate it and realize, oh, you have discoid lupus. Or they may come in for something else altogether. And we say, hey, this also looks abnormal. Let me check a few labs and then diagnose things. So, dermatologists are excellent at helping. One, people are concerned about their skin. It can affect them mentally. It can affect their ability to feel like they can do well in a public facing, job. So it can affect them in multiple ways. And so anything that someone is concerned about with their skin, they should at least see a dermatologist, to see if it's something that can be addressed sooner rather than later, especially when we talk about hair loss. So some of the conditions that I treat everything, but my particular interest in clinical research interest is understanding more about why certain types of hair loss are so common in Black women and understanding what we can do to be more preventative about it. And then also there's a condition of recurrent boils. These are boils that occur without an infection. They just occur under the arms, under the breast, and the growing buttocks. It's called hidradenitis suppurativa, or we call it HS for short. And it's very common, especially in young female African Americans. We see this, more common than other populations, but it can occur in anyone. I have a 90-year-old gentleman who came in, a 90-year-old Black gentleman who came in to see me about a rash on his leg. And I saw that he had been getting recurrent boils. And I said, you have, HS? He said, what's that? I've been getting these boils for about 40 years,
Oh, wow.
So it's just things that occur that we don't know that it's something that you can see someone about. And so I would encourage you, if you're having a skin issue, skin, hair, nails, you should see a dermatologist to see if there's something that could be done.
Yeah. And I forgot about that. How, of course, the skin is important because isn't it the largest organ?
It is the largest organ. It's the
Yeah.
largest organ.
Yeah.
We in dermatology, we do consults in the hospital. So we have our outpatient clinics where we take care of the run-of-the-mill types of things and normal things you would anticipate a dermatologist would do. We do cosmetics, we do chemical peels, we do both sides, we do all of these things. But then we also help in the hospital setting, because when patients are in the hospital and they have a rash, sometimes that rash is a clue to what's going on with them. And so the other doctors will often consult us to come and take a look so that we can help them solve whatever the mystery, for the diagnosis is. So the skin is the largest organ, and it will give you clues that something is not going on. Often it's just the skin and we can handle it, and it may not be affecting anything else, but sometimes it does affect other organs within the body, and we can help get someone to the right place.
Yeah, that's good stuff, because the skin can actually be a window to what's going on inside a person's body. Wow.
Exactly. Yep.
Didn't know that. I learned
Yeah.
something. Yes, ma'am. So, but is this your last slide? I want to make sure.
Yeah, this is the
Oh,
last slide.
okay.
Yeah, just a
Yay.
thank you for inviting me. I look forward to hopefully working with you all with some of my interests and research interests in the future, or giving more health related talks.
Yeah, definitely. I want to, get you to the, church, or do something in person. I'm gonna say do something maybe in person. I know you're super busy, so we'll think about a coordinator, but I definitely want to have you again. Ooh, to talk about the hair.
Yes,
And
I
you,
would
I
love
forgot.
to.
Yes, yes. We have different ages. You have the people who are older, and that you got your younger, and people trying to go natural, and people staying with the perms. And I think you would have a lot of information just to give us even on that. But this right here was awesome. This was
Thank
great.
you.
Dr. Maya, how can people set up an appointment? I know if they're new patients, and I'm thinking like with anything, if you're new, it may take a minute to get in. But if
Yeah.
I say, hey, if I go ahead and call today or Monday, I'm sure it'll be a couple of months. But how can people contact you to set up an appointment?
Yes. So you can Google UAB dermatology. That's one thing, and you'll see information there. But the phone number is 205-996-SKIN, SKIN, or 205-996-7546. So that'll get you to the schedulers for us. So there's several dermatologists that work in our outpatient practice, and they're all wonderful. They're all wonderful. I have a little warning. So the wait time to see me, I'm booked out several months. So it may be, 6 months, 6 months, 9 months, it varies, but it may be long. I don't want people waiting 6 months if you have something that really needs to be addressed right away. So I tell patients, go on and make that 6-month appointment with me, but also take whatever the next available, just so that you can get in to see one of our dermatologists so that they can help you right now. Also, we communicate a lot as dermatologists, even dermatologists not at UAB. In the community, we communicate a lot. If there's something that someone has that's a little bit challenging, we talk to each other. So if a patient has something that's within my area of expertise, like hidradenitis or hair loss, that is not the run of the mill, whatever dermatologist you see will run it by me or one of the other experts as well. So you don't have to feel like you're not, getting the absolute best care if you're just because you're not, seeing the dermatologist you wanted to see. If you have an acute or a problem that needs to be addressed right away, then
Right,
get in, don't wait 6 months.
right, exactly. Um, Man, this was good. I think I got a call. That's something. We have just boys in general, and then especially with our children who's in sports, just the importance of, hey, really cleaning your skin, making sure you moisturize, sunscreen, and going outside. They all want to go outside and play. So I know that is super important. This has been very helpful. Just the part about going easy on the soap, man, it's a lot of things. It's a mindset, it's a change. We gotta get away from what we're used to doing. And as you were talking, I was thinking she's right. When I was growing up, I mean, I don't even know of a dermatologist. I don't think my friends ever went to dermatologists.
Yeah.
I think we got a pimple. It was, let's go get some Noxzema, whatever's in the
Mhm.
store, Clearasil. I think Neutrogena was out there, and we were doing all that stuff. But it's so important, I think, just to go once a year, just say, hey, take a look at my skin and see what's going on with it.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
think,
agree.
yeah, almost like with your PCP. So this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Tiff. This was great. Gonna give you
Thank
a
you. Thank you for
call.
having me.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to do this again. Everyone, please make sure you schedule your appointment. 205-996 SKIN. So 205-996 SKIN. Please join us on next week. We have some great topics. Next week, we have actually Nikki. She's been with us before. She's going to talk to us about summer programs for our kids. So that's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Don't forget to join us every Sunday for temple worship celebrations. Of course, Pastor Mason's continuing the spring cleaning series, knowing what we need to get rid of in our lives. Our prayer room call every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's at 6 a.m. That number is 727-731-0433. And then, of course, we have a study of scripture that is every Tuesday. We do that at 7 o'clock p.m. That is virtual. And so we are journeying through the book of Jude. Wonderful time we are having just studying studying for that. And then also we are having our spiritual renewal retreat that's going to be here in Birmingham at C.W. Hayes School. We have some wonderful people, preachers, pastors, bishops. They're going to be blessing our hearts and talking to us about how we need to get our spirits renewed. So we got some great things happening. Our website is bhambc.org, bhambc.org, so you can get all of that information as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Tiffany. This was awesome. This was great. Anything you want to leave our audience with before we dismiss?
Yes, thank you for having me. I hope that you all will take another look at your skin, take another look at the things that you do to your skin, the things you use on your skin. And if you're having an issue, come on in and see us and we can help you out.
Sure will. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on today. Make sure you share this information with someone that you know and someone that you love. Until then, y'all take care and be blessed. Thank you, Dr. Tiff.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.